It feels like the Red Sox stole two really great picks in their first rounds yesterday. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Sea Radio. My name is Corbin. The MLB Draft kicked off yesterday. We're going to have a more complete video going over basically some of the sleepers in the later rounds of this draft, probably sometime later this week. But we had to make a separate video talking about the Red Sox two first draft picks because for the second year in a row, the Red Sox feel like they absolutely stole a great player in the first round. And in the second round, they're going to make a lot of fans happy. So what we are going to do in today's video is we're going to break down the Red Sox first two picks, why they could be absolute monsters, and of course, what this could mean for the Boston Red Sox. Thank you all very much for clicking on this second video of the day. Let's get into it. Okay, so let's start with pick number one, which was Braden Montgomery, a switch-hitting outfielder for Texas A&M, who was originally ranked as the number 8 prospect in the entire draft, and that's because he had an absolutely ridiculous season at the college level this year. He had a .322 average with a .454 on-base percentage and a .733 slug, good for a 1.187 OPS. He also had 27 home runs, 14 doubles, and he walked almost the same amount of times he struck out with 43 walks to 59 Ks. And this isn't really anything new for Braden Montgomery. He's been doing this essentially his entire collegiate career because overall in 3 seasons at the collegiate level between both Stanford and Texas A&M, he had a .317 average with a .428 on base percentage and a .646 slug, good for a 1.073 OPS. Over that time, hitting 62 home runs and driving in 203. There is a whole lot to like about Montgomery's potential. He has really improved his zone control basically year to year. Every single year that he has been in college, we just mentioned the strikeout to walk ratio, but that has improved every single season he's been up there, and it's looking really fantastic. And that's a really great sign for someone who's willing to learn at the professional level, right? He's willing to take advice and he's willing to continue to improve, which is a very big thing, especially with prospects coming out of the draft. Obviously, the big thing here and the standout thing here is the potential Braden Montgomery has from the power side of things, especially from the left-hand side. This dude has monster power potentially, is power to all sides of the field, especially from that left side. And just to give you an idea of what I mean by monster power, this is a graph composed of college players or top prospects in this year's draft with their average exit velo and their barrel percentage. There's Braden Montgomery, who is currently sitting with an exit velocity average of over 98 miles per hour and a barrel percentage of close to 38%. Just for a quick comparison, the average major leaguer is sitting at 7%. That is a whole lot higher. Just honestly, flat out ridiculous barrel rate. This dude graded in the draft as one of the most power potential players of this entire draft class. It is absolutely incredible. You're talking about a guy who at the major league level could be projected out to have 30 plus home runs. This dude makes a whole lot of contact and puts a whole lot of balls over the fence. Now, there are some concerns with Braden Montgomery at the plate, as with every single prospect that you are going to draft. And the biggest one is whether or not he's going to be able to be a switch hitter at the professional level, because a lot of people have their doubts as to whether or not Braden can actually hit from the right-hand side against more advanced pitching, because there is a perceived big difference between what he does from the left-hand side and what he does from the right-hand side. And I say perceived because it's hard to get an exact split record from his college career, right? They don't take that much in-depth stats unless you pay for it, I believe, but we did get an estimated figure, and it might not be as bad as we may think. Right now, from the left-hand side, estimated, he's hitting about .350 with a .465 on base percentage and .830 slug in his career in college, and from the right-hand side, it's a .280 average with a .465 on base percentage and a .600 slug. Obviously, the biggest difference there is that power, and we talked about it a little bit, but at the same time, too, what this also may indicate is that there is something there from Braden to be a switch hitter, especially in the lower minor league levels, to see if you can keep working on things. I mean, a 600 slug and a 1000 OPS really isn't all that bad if you ask me personally. It's just that there's such a big difference in terms of the power stroke between the left and the right that have people a bit concerned. However, again, When you're hitting over 1,000 OPS, it's still something where you're like, all right, maybe we give him at least a chance to be a switch hitter in the minor league level. The other part of this too is that he can tend to get a bit swing happy in the batter's box at some points. Again, we talked about the fact that he has really improved his zone control over his 3 years in college, but there are some points where he does like to chase, especially off-speed pitches outside of the zone. So that's going to be something to absolutely monitor with Braden. But if you're talking about overall what the potential here is in terms of a athlete in the outfield, you're talking about a guy who's going to make some pretty solid contact. He's definitely going to give you some strikeouts, but he's going to hit the ball really hard and a long way. Again, we're talking about the player that had maybe the best exit velocity values coming into this year's draft outside of maybe one or two other guys. There's a reason this player was a top 10 draft pick coming into this year. Now, on top of that, talking about his defense, the other thing that really stands out with Braden is his arm. He is one of the strongest outfield arms in this year's class, and he absolutely throws rockets defensively and pretty accurate ones at that, mostly because he was a pitcher at some point during his career, and he was topping out around 96 miles an hour. This dude can absolutely sling it. On top of that, he gets decent reads in the outfield, and he's got average speed. That combination makes him a potential Gold Glove caliber defender in the outfield. I know what you guys are thinking, Corbin, why do the Red Sox need another outfielder? They have a whole bunch of them, and you are right, there are a whole bunch of outfielders for the Red Sox, but the Red Sox took advantage of an opportunity to get a guy that no one expected them to get, and that is a really good sign. They were able to take advantage and get the most athletic player in the first round, which is what I've been saying they are probably going to do for a little bit now. This also gives them the opportunity to maybe move some different pieces on this Red Sox team or in this Red Sox system that previously they weren't going to move. I understand a lot of people wanted a pitcher in the first round, and we'll get to the pitcher in a second, but if the Red Sox end up going into this year's deadline or out of this year's deadline or even into 2025 with a major league talented pitcher via the trade that they can now make with Braden in their system and a top 10 draft pick with the potential to be one of the more impactful pieces in this year's draft, I don't know how you don't see that as a win. So overall, this was an absolute monster pick by the Boston Red Sox. I think a lot of people should be really happy with who they ended up selecting, but there's another guy in here that we need to talk about as well, and this one is a pitcher. However, before we get into that, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Sox almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. Just helps these videos out a ton. It's the best way you can let me know you enjoy the content we are putting out. Thank you all very much for doing so. Let's break down the pitcher. So like I said, the Red Sox second round pick this season was a pitcher, and that's significant for one specific reason, and that is that the Red Sox haven't really been paying attention all that much to pitchers in the first couple of rounds the past couple of years. In fact, this is the highest the Red Sox have selected a pitcher since they selected Tanner Houck, and we all know how that one's worked out this season. The player that the Red Sox decided to go with in the second round is lefty slinging Payton Tolle, who is an absolute monster physically at 6'6" and 250 pounds. His extension on the mound is at 7 feet 4 inches. There are currently only 4 MLB pitchers with a longer extension, one of those guys being Tyler Glasnow, another one being Logan Gilbert. He's in some pretty good company already when it comes to his extension on the mound. It's a big reason why he had an absolutely ridiculous season this year at the collegiate level with a 3.21 ERA in 14 starts this season, a 1.156 whip, and the big standout statistic, his strikeout rate at 125 strikeouts in just 81 1/3 innings. That is a 36.4% strikeout rate. A whole lot of swing and miss, due in large part to his fastball, which is very much the best pitch in his arsenal. He doesn't throw it super fast, averaging around 94 miles an hour, give or take a couple of miles an hour, but between his extension metrics, the release point in which his windup releases the baseball, and the 22 inches of vertical movement that he has on his fastball, it's essentially virtually unhittable. He got a ton of whiffs inside the zone, and he used that pitch about 75% of the time. It's one of the more exciting pitches in the entire draft because of how unhittable it seems. Now, obviously, like we talked about with Braden, there are concerns with every prospect you're going to take, and for Payton, that's definitely his secondary pitches and his commands. He does have a couple of secondary pitches that he utilized during the the 2024 collegiate season, the bigger one being the sweeping slider, or I guess sweeper at the end of the day, which did get some swing and miss, especially when in used combination with that fastball that just absolutely blows people away, but it's nothing special. It was graded dead average. It's been called dead average. It gets swing and miss when it needs to, but it's nothing super crazy. The other one was a changeup, which really isn't anything all that special. In fact, scouts really aren't high that he will be able to utilize it in professional baseball. He didn't use it a whole lot in college, and it really doesn't do much aside from give you a change in velocity. So that is absolutely something the Red Sox are going to need to work with Payton on once he gets into the major league system. But again, you look at who's in charge of this Red Sox team and what's been the highlight of this Red Sox team so far this year, and it has been an increase in both usage and effectiveness of off-speed pitches. So I think this is a really good fit to improve those secondary pitches with Payton and the Boston Red Sox. The other thing is his command. His walk rate is around 11.2% in college, which is not exactly fantastic. If he wants to be a starter or even really a pitcher at the major league level, that command or control is going to have to come down a bit. A lot of it came off of those secondary pitches. He really isn't able to locate those super well. So again, that is going to have to be something that the Red Sox really sort of hone in on with Payton over the next few years as he gets himself prepared to be a pitcher at the big league level. Now, because of these concerns, the scouts don't really know where Payton's going to end up. I think in terms of what his legitimate ceiling could be, that would be a legitimately decent starting pitcher at the major league level. However, there are some scouts that believe he's more so destined to be a bullpen ace type, like a 2021 Garrett Whitlock, with the potential to have one of the best fastballs in the entire sport. Now, in my opinion, I don't think it's really unrealistic to assume that there is a decent chance that the Red Sox are able to really work with this guy and get him more towards his ceiling than sort of his middle of the road floor, which is again that reliever. I think with what the Red Sox have been able to do both at the major league level pitching wise and within the minor league system pitching wise, it's not unrealistic to assume that they are able to utilize Payton Tolle's biggest strength and really sort of improve upon his weaknesses to make him a more well-rounded pitcher. And if that happens, you're looking at one of the more deadly lefty pitchers in the entire sport. He's getting comparisons right now to Yusei Kikuchi and Tanner Scott. Tanner Scott having one of the best relieving seasons in all of Major League Baseball. If that's who he ends up being, the Red Sox got a really fantastic pitcher. If he does end up being more so like Yusei Kikuchi, well, then you got a college arm who could end up being in this rotation the next couple of years, who is going to solidify the back end of your rotation. I think that's a win-win for this Red Sox team. In fact, I look at the first two picks combined, and I think there's a whole lot of winning here. I think it's hard to be angry with anything the Red Sox did in the first couple of rounds, because not only did you pick up a player that no one thought you would be able to pick up and one of the more athletic players in the first round of this year's draft, but you also got a pretty interesting looking left-handed college arm that Red Sox fans have been dying for you to go after over the last couple of years. You were able to do both of the things you needed to do in the first two rounds of the draft. That is a fantastic result for the Boston Red Sox. And what I like specifically about these two picks is that they're both college athletes, which means you are probably going to see them impact this team a whole lot earlier than some of the other picks the Red Sox have taken over the last couple of years. Although Braden is going to be on a little bit of a setback. He broke his ankles in super regionals this season in college, so he's going to have to rehab that, and we probably won't see him at any point during the 2024 season, but we absolutely will in 2025, and I am unbelievably pumped to get some new talent into this organization and talent that could affect this team in a whole lot of different ways. So I'm really excited about these picks. I hope you guys are too, but let me know in the comment section down below. What do you think? Do you like the fact that the Red Sox got a steal in the first round? Do you like what they did in the second round? And what are you expecting going forward in the next few rounds from the Boston Red Sox? As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Sox almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. Again, just helps these videos out a ton, and it's the best way you can let me know you like the content that we are putting out. Don't forget, you could always get these episodes in podcast form if you want to listen instead of watch. All you got to do is head over to your favorite podcasting app and look up Red Seat Radio. Thank you all very much for watching this video, and I will see you in the Red Seats.